Okay. So a lot of you have been messaging me about this issue. I also happen to live through it at the moment, seeing as the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is taking place pretty close to my own country, Romania. And I really wanted to give you a spiritual and astrological perspective on some of the more sensationalist messages you're getting from the media at the moment. I'm going to be talking in this video about Ukraine's independence chart and how it is interacting with the astrological energy of its ruler, Volodymyr Zelensky, and the birth chart of Vladimir Putin. I'm Lexi, your local light worker. I'm a tarot reader and an astrologer, and this is a video created pretty spontaneously because you guys requested it. I made my peace with the subject already pretty soon as the news broke into the collective that there could be a conflagration happening. I pulled up the astrological charts and I understood perfectly the arcane divine energies that are playing out at the moment, but I need to share this with you guys as well because maybe it will bring you some peace of mind too. So as I'm talking, I will pull up the charts of specific things I'm mentioning over here in this box next to me so that you can follow along. Let's start off first with the birth chart of Vladimir Putin. So Vladimir Putin is the president of Russia. He has been the president of Russia for a very long period of years. And the thing is that a lot of political commentators and sociologists agree with the fact that when a person has been given access to so much power for such a long period of time without being contested, then this person tends to fall into something called hubris, which is a warped perception of reality. In certain cases, hubris and hubristic ideologies are considered a form of mental health problem. And it is significant because if you have a look at the chart of Putin, he has a cluster of planets in the 12th house. The 12th house deals with the dissolution of the ego, and it does show where we store traumas, where we store a lot of mental health issues, a lot of secrets, and a lot of things being done away from the prying eyes of society. So with so much energy packed in the 12th house, Putin also has a duty to listen to his karma. Also because he has Saturn there. He has Sun conjunct Saturn, conjunct Mercury and Neptune in Libra. So his karma is to let go of things. He needs to understand how to forgive people that have wronged him. Why am I saying this? Well, because if you look a little bit upwards in his chart, he has Pluto in Leo on the midheaven, public image. The 10th house is also the career, the profession. So he has a powerful public image, being an oligarch and the leader of Russia for so many years. At the same time, because Pluto is conjunct his south node, his karmic point of letting go, this is what he already knows from a past life, and he needs to let go of that in order to fulfill his point of destiny, which is his north node in Aquarius. However, I think that he's overusing his Pluto in Leo in the 10th house at the moment because he's overexerting his will, Leo, right? Brutality and strength in a situation when all he needs to do is let go of his strong emotions, let go of arrogance, let go of the feeling that he's the one that needs to dominate and, be the toughest lion in the pack and roar, so that everybody listens to him and trembles in fear to him. He needs to let that go. Because Pluto is there, he needs to let go of intensity, drama, a desire to punish other people, to hold them accountable to his own trauma. When in reality, what he needs to do with the North Node in Aquarius is take matters into his own hand and talk about the trauma, not sweep it under the rug and pretend like he's the toughest person in the backyard. He is supposed to deal with it in a tolerant, humanitarian, all-inclusive and emotionally detached way. Aquarius, emotional detachment, thinking deeply about ingrained patterns of behavior, so you bring them up to the consciousness and you become empowered by them. Now, aside from this phenomenal stellium energy in the 12th house, and we see how difficult it is for him to let go aside from the North Node in Aquarius in the 4th house at the moment and the Pluto in Leo conjunct the South Node next to the midheaven, Putin also has a very creepy moon in Gemini in the 8th house. Gemini energy in a lunar landscape talks about being a little bit of a dual nature. We talked about this moon in Gemini aspect in the Astro Hunks episode that featured Jake Gyllenhaal. It is the placement of the unconscious actor, the person that says one thing but then does completely the opposite thing. So it's kind of like playing mind games. That is his comfort zone. That is how he relaxes, by playing mind games, by keeping people on their toes. This is why we don't have a clear account at the moment of whether there is a conflagration or not. It's like things are bubbling up. They're simmering right beneath the surface, and it's testing everybody's patience. The nerves of all the people around us at the moment are supercharged because this energy, this powerful energy that Putin projects at the moment into the collective, it's like a supernova. It's bright and effulgent and super powerful right before it is about to die out and be extinguished. Now, I'm not saying that Putin is going to die out or be extinguished. I'm just using a metaphor to show you guys how a person is right on the verge of making a decision that will either liberate him karmically, if he decides to fulfill his Saturn and Libra in the 12th house energy and let go of this conflict and fulfill his North Node in Aquarius, tolerance, humanitarian pursuits, or trap them forever on a karmic level. When you're behind the order of attacking another country and creating war, I mean, that is a karma that I wouldn't wish upon any of my children's futures or ancestors, or, you know, this is an incredible energetic blockage that you are creating, and it will manifest in generations to come. Putin will have to be reincarnated several times in this reality, and in various positions, maybe even in positions where he is on the back end of receiving a lot of trauma in order to clear up that karma. That is the 12th house. That is the prison into which he is going to fall if he doesn't heed the karmic demand, the karmic pressure that Saturn is currently placing on him. Let go, forgive, release. And what exactly does he need to release? Well, he needs to release Ukraine from a codependent bond that they have been connected with. What we are witnessing at the moment, guys, forgive me if I'm using a rather turned metaphor, but it looks as if there is a quarrel between lovers, a parent and a child that have been codependently connected for far too long. And now, because Saturn is touching upon Putin's North Node in Aquarius, Saturn is also touching upon Volodymyr Zelensky's Sun in Aquarius, because the president of Ukraine is born on the 25th of January, which makes him a Sun in Aquarius. But also Saturn is also touching upon the Moon and Saturn of the independence chart of Ukraine. If you guys have a look at some of the planetary positions that I could identify here for the date of 24th of August 1991, the date when the independence of Ukraine was officially declared, you can see very clearly here that the nation itself, the date in which it proclaimed its independence, has the rulership of a Sun in Virgo. So very modest, very work-prone, quite... in certain cases, you know, Virgo energy can be quite self-defeatist as well, but very reliable and hardworking, you know, pragmatic energy. At the same time, the Sun in Virgo sits in tension with Moon in Aquarius. Not only that, but Ukraine has an aspect which I'm familiar with because I have it in my chart as well. Sophia Loren used to have it as well, and in exactly the same placements that Ukraine is currently having it. So this is Moon in Aquarius conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. This is a very tough karma regarding needing to let go of the people that you love and your friends, everything that creates an emotional connection to you. You are karmically bound to let go. Another interesting aspect is that there is a lot of energy in the chart of the Independence Day of Ukraine that looks at the position of the South Node in Cancer, so the karma that this energy came with, and also the dharma. What is Ukraine as a nation, as an energy growing towards? And this is the North Node in Capricorn, conjunct Lilith in Capricorn, and also conjunct Uranus and Neptune. This is phenomenal energy. Ukraine at the moment needs to leave the codependent connection that they have been sharing with Russia for a number of years. After the fall of the Soviet bloc, when communism was, defeated, dissolved in the Eastern European bloc, I remember that for a very long time, Ukraine was continuously associated with Russia. Out of all of the countries in Eastern Europe that were under the dominance of the communist regime, Ukrainian is the one that is actually very close, even in language and mannerisms, to Russia. For a very long time, I myself, as a rather detached observer, I'm Romanian, I had to deal with my own growing up in my own country and with the establishment towards increasing capitalization of my own environment and society. But for a very long time, to me, Ukrainians weren't very different than Russians. And I'm very ashamed to say this, but the image that came across was one of modesty, one of almost complete immersion with the nation of Russia, which was further emphasized by the fact that I personally couldn't differentiate between the two languages, although I am increasingly aware that there could be regional differences and, dialects that are very different than the ones that Russians use. Now, why am I mentioning this point? It's not to make a comment on how codependent Ukraine is. No. I'm talking here about the legacy of the South Node in Cancer, North Node in Capricorn. Those of you that have this placement natally in the chart, you know what I'm talking about. I grew up with a sister that has this in her chart, so I witnessed firsthand how this energy plays out in the strong relationship that my mother has with my younger sister, and how difficult it is to cut the umbilical cord and to become independent. Based on these observations, I can further say that Ukraine at the moment is having its Saturn return, Saturn in Aquarius, and Saturn is in Aquarius since December 2021, and it will end its transit in March 2023. So, to sum up everything I had to say here, Saturn, the energy of limits, effort, pressure, is really sticking its fingers into the energy of the current president of Ukraine. It's really depleting the president of Ukraine of vitality, energy, and it's bringing up issues of nationalism, personal identity. Who is he as an Ukrainian up to the surface of his conscious mind. When you have a Sun conjunct Saturn transit, you feel the pressure to rise up and show the world your legacy, but you also feel increasingly tired and depressed and lacking in vitality. Those of you that have, at the moment, Saturn in Aquarius conjuncting your Sun, you guys know what I'm talking about. Not only that, but Saturn in Aquarius is really putting on the pressure on Putin to rise up to his destiny, his North Node in Aquarius, and retreat from the limelight. Let things go. And Saturn in Aquarius is also in a really harmonious position to the stellium of Libra in the 12th house. Putin is in a wonderful position at the moment of making a decision that will either spiritually block him for many lifetimes to come if he declares war on Ukraine, or liberate him and get him to fulfill his beautiful North Node in Aquarius. It's really beautiful to have such a placement because Aquarius is about heaven. It's about the higher mind. So Vladimir Putin is sitting at the moment literally between heaven and hell. Not only that, but his ascendant in Scorpio is truly the sign of intensity, so he's bound to fall into these heaven and hell kind of decisions throughout his lifetime. We are witnessing the Saturn return of Ukraine, a nation that didn't figure too much on international news up until this present moment, when a lot of the eyes of the world are sitting, waiting, watching, and wondering what is happening with the population, what is happening with the president. All eyes are on Ukraine because their Saturn return leads to this fulfillment, increased pressure and attention from other people, and at the same time feeling the need to prove yourself even as your energy is drained and depleted. With Saturn returning on the moon, the maternal aspect, the national aspect, the nurturing that Ukraine has been receiving so far from Russia, and vice versa, the nurturing that Ukraine has been giving to Russia needs to stop. And the Ukrainian people, Sun in Virgo, right? So this talks about the common folk, the ordinary efforts of normal people, common folk that at the moment are taking matters into their own hands and learning how to shoot, learning how to use dogs for attack purposes. They're learning as well how to become more self-reliant. And we are witnessing the fulfillment of the North Node in Capricorn during Ukraine's Saturn return period on their moon. So a lot of hardship, effort, but also the opportunity to finally boss up and become a truly self-standing, independent nation. Why is this subject coming up to the fore at the moment? Well, again, because astrologically, we are going through the massive transition of leaving behind the legacy of Pluto in Capricorn, and we're walking into Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Ukraine and the energy of the country itself has been under a deep soul reconstitution because Pluto in Capricorn since 2008 has been going on its north node, the point of growth and destiny, and Lilith, wild independence. I'm not going to let you do what you want. I'm going to claim matters into my own hand. That's Lilith, and it's conjunct the north node in Capricorn, Uranus in Capricorn, so it's again the energy of spontaneous rebuilding, and Neptune in Capricorn, which is about letting go of money, letting go of practical material support from Russia in order for them to actually start building their own. So what we're witnessing at the moment is this gradual detangling, which is incredibly painful, of a nation that did not have a very solid identity of its own, but it's now coming into full force following the completion of the Pluto and Capricorn era, and an oligarch that really needs to step into his 12th house energy, letting go and forgiving, rather than appealing to the medieval practice of just instilling war. I really hope that, Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers are going to start disrespecting orders. I do hope that this will actually have a very quick turning point where both Ukrainian and Russian soldiers are not going to obey the orders of a madman, putting the weapons down. They're not going to execute any order to press levers on their machines or attack, with tanks and other crappy machines like that. I hope that tolerance, humanitarian efforts, I hope that people are going to see beyond the desire for power, and they're just going to step into, hey, what is happening here? This is insane. It's 2022. I know that our generation, the millennials, have been criticized very strongly by previous generations that we are just such introverts and we have no ambition and we're constantly in our phones. But maybe the fact that we're so obsessed with our introverted little worlds can save us at the moment. And I do hope that the majority of the people that had to enlist in the Ukrainian and Russian army in order to defend their country and to defend the people around them for the situation, I hope they're going to have this arcane moment of understanding. If we all just let go of following orders, we don't have to go through a painful war. We can start talking to one another. We can share videos on our phones and talk about, our pets and what we like to do. Much of what our generation is already doing. But with a Pluto and Leo as a ruler of a powerful nation, Putin, that's what I'm talking about, this is a mentality, this warlike mentality is something that needs to die down. And I genuinely have faith that this conflagration is actually just going to be a bubble that builds up and deflates as quickly as it built up, because we're going to learn something really powerful about the power of common, ordinary folk, not in producing war, but in letting the weapons go and in actually reaching out to each other, seeing the commonality in each other's hearts. And on this hopeful note, I do strongly recommend that you don't hate on Putin or on the Ukrainian president. Send them love and bless them. Bless both sides. Only with positive intent, with positive light and blessings, can we lead collectively to the dissolution of this conflict. Don't fall into the fear-mongering that the media is creating. Come back to your place of deep spiritual knowing. We need you guys. This is a test. Saturn is testing at the moment everything that we've been talking about in the occult spiritual community. Don't give up when the times are hard. Shine even brighter when the times are hard, okay? I'll be by your side trying to guide you as best as I can, even if I'm tired, even if I'm out of it. I just realized that determination, perseverance is what we need in this period. And it's not about looking perfect or getting phenomenal likes and views. It's a lot about just clearly from the heart transmitting your passion, being there, being present, putting one foot in front of the other, and just blessing. Start blessing left and right, because the only way forward is through love and light, literally this time, through daily practice, not just in our heads. So I'm sending you lots of love, take care, and please don't give in to fear.